Hey guys, this is from my channel. In today's video we are doing a durability test of the Vivo V60 smartphone. We will cover its build quality, we'll check out its accessories, we'll see how well it's protected from drops, scratches, cracks, the works. We'll try to answer the questions: should you worry about durability with this device? And does the extra care required apply to your everyday use? For our unboxing, what's inside? From early hands-on first impression sources, you'll get the Vivo V60. In my case, the 12GB 256GB moonlit blue version. Also comes with a silicone protective case. Nice touch. A USB-C charging cable, probably 1 meter in length. A high wattage wall charger. So this is 90 watts flash charge. A nice inclusion because it's fast and it's reliable. SIM ejector tool and warranty and quick start instruction manuals. So the unboxing is pretty complete these days. All the accessories that many users expect are included. Checking the build quality now. It is a premium device overall based on reports and specs. Let's start with the display. It's a 6.77-inch curved AMOLED display. So the sides curve down a little bit and we have a 120Hz refresh rate. A great inclusion there. Protection-wise, Vivo claims Diamond Shield glass protection on the front. This is supposed to offer better resistance to drops versus older generation. But note, this is not full coverage. It's just over the flat part of the display. The curved parts are unprotected, so they can get damaged easily. We'll talk more about this later. So in terms of rating for dust and water resistance, it's rated IP68, IP69 in many markets. This gives you protection against dust, ingress and water immersion situations, etc. Thickness and weight are relatively thin considering the large battery. For example, 7.53mm in the grey variant over 7.75mm in the blue. It weighs 192 to 201 grams depending on the color. Camera-wise, we get a triple rear camera setup, which is often a main 50MP camera with OIS, an 8MP ultra-wide and a 50MP periscope telephoto lens. And of course we have ZEISS optics involved as well. So looking at the device, there are a few points that stand out. One is that glass is glass. Even with tougher or stronger glass materials like here, it's still possible to crack the display if enough force is applied to it, especially on corners or edges. If you look closely at the front, the curve is more pronounced on the left and right than the top and bottom. So this means if you drop it from height or if you accidentally hit the corner, you have a higher chance of causing a crack or a fracture. Now the back panel is also interesting. It's glass, but the curvature is not as aggressive as the front. So theoretically speaking, if you drop it on a hard surface or edge, the back panel is more likely to crack or even shatter compared to the front. The other thing I noticed is the frame. It's made of aluminum. In fact, it's polished aluminum and it's smooth and shiny. But the thing is that polished surfaces can be prone to fingerprints. Just something to be aware of. I know it's not a big deal, but for those who prefer matte or even frosted surfaces, this might bother you a little bit. Now let's move on to the cameras. There is some writing at the back, and I guess it's unavoidable because of the design. It says powered by V2, and then below it, portrait camera. So when you hold the device, your fingers are likely to be covering these writings. But if you put your finger on the powered by V2 text, it's actually positioned in a way where your finger blocks both the text and the camera. And if you shift your finger slightly either way, the text gets uncovered. Not really a problem, but just a quirk worth noting. The next thing I want to tackle is the fingerprint resistance at the back. It's actually smooth. So if you run your fingers across the surface, your fingerprints will not remain. They'll disappear quickly. So it's better in that sense. And finally, let's talk about scratches on the back panel. Since it is glass, the back is quite smooth, not as much texture as the X90 Pro. So you can see that marks and scratches are easier to notice. Just like with all smartphones, you're always going to get some light scratches on the back panel. And since this one is smooth, it's easier to notice them. It's just something to keep in mind. Now, let's do some scratch tests. We'll start with the display. Scratching with a coin. You can see a few light marks, nothing major. With keys, again, you can see some marks. Now let me switch to a harder object. This is a metal file. Again, nothing too major. This is where things change. This is a glass breaker. And this, as you know, designed to break glass. As you can see, the display did not crack. The coin did not crack the display. The key did not crack the display. It's pretty tough. However, when I used the glass breaker, you can see a small crack forming on the display. So again, not gonna crack it completely, but the glass breaker was able to create a small crack on the display. So just be careful when you are placing this phone down on sharp objects, or if you happen to drop it on sharp objects, the display may crack. And moving on to the back panel, we see that the coin leaves some marks. The same with the key. The metal file again leaves some marks. And again, the glass breaker was not able to crack the back panel. It did leave a mark. So just like the display, the back panel is pretty tough. Scratches are difficult to get on it. It'll take quite a lot of effort, but the glass breaker was able to leave a mark. So this is where you really need to be careful. If you drop this phone on a hard surface, it is possible to crack the back panel. Moving on to the camera lenses, we see that the coin doesn't leave any marks. The key doesn't leave any marks. The metal file doesn't leave any marks. And the glass breaker was also unable to crack the camera lenses. So overall, the camera lenses seem to be pretty tough. However, the frame seems to be a little weak. The coin did leave a few marks. The key did leave a few marks. The metal file also left some marks. And when I used the glass breaker, you can see that the frame cracked a little bit. So if you are using a case, it's okay. But if you're not using a case, and you happen to drop this phone on a hard surface, the frame might crack a little bit. So the frame seems to be the weakest link. Now, let's do a drop test. Dropping the Vivo V60 from 2 feet, everything looks fine. From 6 feet, you can see that the display cracked a little bit. The frame also cracked a little bit. And from 10 feet, the display cracked completely. There was no UNOs detected. So basically the display is dead. Overall, the Vivo V60 is well set up in terms of build, protection and accessories out of the box. The frame could be a little tougher, but overall it's pretty decent. It won't be indestructible. Drops, especially from height or onto corners, can still cause cracks, but using the included case helps. Getting a good tempered glass screen protector, especially edge-to-edge or ones that protect the curved edges well, is highly advisable. Be mindful of edges and corners during regular use. Avoid hard drops or impacts whenever possible. And of course, if you want to protect your investment, consider getting some form of insurance, whether from the seller or your country of residence. Okay, so there you have it. That wraps up our durability test of the Vivo V60 smartphone. Let us know what you think in the comments section below. Which part of the world are you watching from? What kind of accessories do you typically use? What are your daily use cases? Do you want a tougher frame? Maybe even a better screen protector? And would you go for another V60? Those are just some questions to get the conversation going. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks a lot for watching. Please stay safe. I'll see you in the next one.